My name is Chris Overholt. I'm the CEO and Secretary General of the Canadian Olympic Committee. We are an organization of just about 100 people in 2 cities, pretty much split down the middle. We've got 50 in Toronto, 50 in Montreal or so. Mostly communications operations folks here in Toronto, and our sport department with a few others speckled in Montreal. I was introduced to Learn2, of course, through our relationship with Doug. Doug had been working with the Canadian Olympic Committee for a good number of years before I arrived in 2010. I had done some important visioning work around mission and values in I think 2008, and had also done quite a bit of work inside the sport community. So Doug's reputation preceded, and we had a chance to meet early in 2010, just after Vancouver, and instantly had a great connection as people, and so it just went from there. Well, it's been on a number of fronts. We've engaged Learn2 to help us with facilitating some staff retreat elements. We've engaged with them to help us take through discussions around our strategic priorities. We've had them do some lighter exercises, kind of tabletop exercises to get the team moving and through some different challenges. On a personal note, Doug's one of those that I really rely on for personal counsel and advice in my business. As recently as this afternoon, I spoke to him about a particular challenge I was having, and he gives me good advice, and again, we have a good connection, so that's helpful. It usually involves kind of several steps in a process. We might internally come up with either a positioning or a theme or something that we're thinking about, or a challenge that we're faced with that we're trying to work through. Typically from there, we'll engage Doug and the team in a conversation about those facts and start to do some design work together about how we might tackle that. Doug brings great experience, of course, from other industries, other organizations. So he'll lean on some of that experience, and sometimes it's a bespoke kind of creation in and of itself. Sometimes I'm guessing he's leaning on other experiences previously, but once we've got kind of a design position around it, then part of that is usually deciding, well, okay, how are we going to engage the staff with all of this before we arrive at that moment, and what kind of work or what kind of expectation or anticipation do we want to create around it. And again, we'll work together to get it done, so that when we arrive in the day, it's easy and it's well thought out and always well executed. Well, it's always engaged. Doug hasn't been the only presenter over the years, but he's been the one predominantly that we've leaned on. He knows us, he knows our organization, he knows me. He has a terrific sense of humor and way about him that always makes the heavier conversations a little bit lighter. And so, that engagement is typically fun, and typically, again, makes the point, but makes it in a way that leaves everybody kind of lighthearted, and we've always enjoyed that. I think, there are typically, the way those executions are designed, there's typically breakthrough moments. There's typically, Doug kind of takes you on a journey, and along the way is kind of ticking some boxes, and then there's kind of an aha moment in my experience, and so it's kind of along for the ride. And again, it's not always with a particular storyline. It's not constructed or conceived of, but it's there's a way that he moves people through it that's comfortable, and I like to think that the impact is not only that they understand the issue and they've got a better sense of how we're going to manage it together, but they've had a little bit of fun along the way doing it. I do find that over the years, the work that we've done with Doug leads me to start thinking not only about my business life, but maybe how some of that stuff applies in my personal life as well. And it depends on the topic, of course, and what we're addressing. But again, there's a reason that I continue to call on Doug's counsel along the way, in between moments that we might spend together corporately, and it's because I've come to understand that it's reliable advice and generally good counsel. What you want every time is that you feel a little bit closer to your teams, a little bit more connected to the people that are working with you every day and in your business, and connected in a very authentic way to your colleagues, right? Trying to, we all spend so many hours working the way we do. It's, it is the case that we're all asked to do more with less, and it doesn't matter whether you're brand new in the business as a coordinator or an assistant, or whether you're the CEO, we're all trying to do more. It's important that you find a way to take moments together and get reconnected, and oftentimes I find when we're coming out of those sessions with Doug and with the Learn2 team, that connection's there, and it's just a matter of when we're going to get back to it next. I think the fact that now for all these many years they know who we are, right? and that they've had a good understanding of where we've been. They've watched us go through quite a bit of change, so they have that kind of historical context, and then they can help us apply that context to our thinking going forward. So it's a bit of past, present, future. I can't say that there's any other organization that we deal with that is directly linked to our culture and to our employees that understands us better than Doug and Learn2. Well, for me, it's always been the personal connection I've had with Doug, right? So look, business isn't always hard, but it's not always easy. Mm-hmm. And when things aren't easy, you want to know who you can count on and where your counsel is, and who your allies are, and who can give you objective advice and so on. And beyond the good service that Learn2 has provided for us over the years, that's a personal relationship I've had with Doug that, again, as recently as this afternoon I called on. So it's always nice to know who's in your corner. Connected.